Time for Money, Power, Politics. President Trump emphatically denying any investments in Russia during his exclusive interview with Lester Holt.
The Senate Intelligence Committee wants information from the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Unit about your finances, your business's finance. Can you tell us whether you, your family, your businesses, your surrogates have accepted any investments, any loans from Russian individuals?
Yeah, in fact, I just sent a letter to Lindsey Graham from one of the most prestigious law firms in the country, a tremendous, highly rated law firm, that I have nothing to do with Russia. I have no investments in Russia, none whatsoever. I don't have property in Russia. A lot of people thought I owned office buildings in Moscow. I don't have property in Russia. And I am I'm in total compliance in every way. Now, I have to tell you, I file documents, hundreds of pages worth of documents with the Federal Elections Bureau. Everybody's seen them. I built a great company, but I'm not involved with Russia. I have had dealings over the years where I sold a house to a very wealthy Russian many years ago. I had the Miss Universe pageant, which I owned for quite a while. I had it in Moscow a long time ago. But other than that, I have nothing to do with Russia.
And one last question on this matter. Did you ever...
And I have a certified letter, just so you understand. I'm not just saying that. I've given the letter. I've given the letter to Senator Lindsey Graham. He has the letter, and I think, frankly, I assume he's going to give the letter out, but it says, I am not involved in Russia. No loans, no nothing.
There we go. Joining me now is CNBC contributor Ron Insana, along with my panel, Megan Murphy and Jason Johnson. Ron, let's start with you. The president gave a lot of attention to the fact that he found a notary and that letter was certified, and it was a highly regarded law firm. But little detail. Clearly, he said he's got no investments in Russia. But as far as Russia being a lender to him, how much do we really know about that?
Well, very little. If you read through the financial disclosure documents with the FEC that were filed as late as July of 2016, there are 550-plus limited liability companies that the president listed as being under his ownership. It doesn't say where the revenue comes from. It doesn't say how money is allocated. It doesn't say whether or not there are loans or other obligations by name. It kind of broadly describes his financial situation, but there's no really granular level of detail about who's involved with which entity. And it's odd to get a certified letter from a law firm. Typically, you would get a certified letter from a certified public accountant who is able to go through one's financial statements and document the veracity of those statements and actually do a lot of forensic work to see
Ron, but
yes.
He also kept saying that he has no investments in Russia.
Yeah.
He has no buildings in Russia. We're not saying that he did. No one thought he was ever flushed with cash. It was, does he have any, did Russia, loan him any money?
Right.
Or we know he's got a loan from Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank has been tangled with Russia for years. Who's to say that that Deutsche Bank didn't write down loans and assign them to a Russian bank? So President Trump could now be facing off against a Russian lender. And he's just wordsmithing this to say, well, I've got no loans to Russia. How about from?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are a variety of ways that you could look at this in which the president could potentially be dissembling. Do his entities have any obligations to Russian entities as opposed to him individually? Remember, he's using largely limited liability companies in which, while he is the beneficial owner of them, he is not personally liable for a lot of the features of those independent businesses. So there could be that. There could also be the fact that, we've heard from his sons, or certainly Eric Trump, as far back as 2008, saying that a disproportionate number of buyers of Trump properties were Russian. He denied recently that he said in 2014 that they didn't need American banks to finance their operations because they had plenty of money from Russian lenders.
Ron, we should say that was Donald Trump Jr. in 2008 that said they had a disproportionate amount of investments from Russia. And Eric Trump did that interview with the Golf Reporter in 2014. Right. Now, when he denied it on Monday, he simply said, that's not true, fake fake news, but he gave no other information to back
Correct.
that up and did not respond my repeated invitation to come on over and walk us through that. Megan, what do you make of this?
Look, I mean, I think the Russia question always looms large, but we have to remember this is a president who hasn't even disclosed his tax return. You know, we still are waiting for that kind of information. He said repeatedly he used their, a house that he sold to a Russian. Look, it's so easy to make fun of these things, to keep it light, to talk about a certified letter and how absurd that is. It would be absurd if it wasn't so serious. There are real questions about what his financial entanglements are there. If there's nothing to hide, be transparent about it. And I know you bang on about this all the time. Release your tax return. Release your taxes.
I'm waiting for Eric Trump or one of his sons to put change in a machine and rubles fall out of their pockets. That's literally what we're looking at this point. And if the president were to actually release his tax returns, 99% of this would disappear. But the fact that he doesn't is an indicator that he knows somewhere deep within his businesses or his current administration that he has connections and weaknesses to Russia that he doesn't want the public or the rest of Congress to know.
Yeah, there are some other alternatives here, too. Either he's worth less than he claims, he gives less to charitable organizations than he has suggested. There may not be, even in his tax returns, necessarily any direct linkage to Russia itself. And again, these transactions can go through a variety of different entities that can be disguised. Businesses have done this for decades about how they transact with companies that are either operating under sanctions or not necessarily those entities with which you want to be associated, but you can create shell operations or shell corporations, if you will, that do business on your behalf. So a certified letter from a law firm, I actually find that odd because the law firm is also then putting its reputation on the line, assuming that it is a big brand name law firm. What do they certify? That the president individually has no financial ties to Russia? Do any of his entities have those ties? Do people around him have those ties? This is a very strange thing. And again, in business, when you're looking at accounting for dollars and cents, it is accounting firms who certify the veracity of your financial statements, your tax returns. It's typically not a law firm.
It's confusing. All right, everybody, thanks. We're going to take a break. And